Carrie from Carrie Buys Houses, and I like to say it is always a seller's market. So happy Wednesday, Thursday? I don't even know what day it is today. Today I wanted to talk to you all about a house that we just sold last week, and it's a house that we bought back in, I don't know, when did we buy that? Back in February or March. So we only had it for a couple of months. But it was a manufactured home in Ormond Beach, and a homeowner had contacted us through the Carrie Buys Houses website, and we spoke with him, and we found out that he had this home that he was living in, and he had pets living in the home, and he had kids living in the home, and the repairs had gotten to be too much. And I'm like, we have pets and we have kids, and I totally get it. In fact, we've lived in houses where the repairs just got to be too much with the kids and the dogs. And it's kind of like when you move offices or you move houses and you have like millions of boxes stacked up and you don't even know where to start. Like, that's what it feels like when you're in a house that needs repairs and you have kids and you have animals running around. And oh my gosh, I was thinking about this the last house that we lived in. We bought it as a fixer-upper, and we were slowly fixing things up for a little while, but then it just got to be too much with the kids and the dogs. And Howie, do you remember when one of the kids came tumbling down the stairs? They were wrestling the kids at the top of the stairs, which I know I didn't realize it was going on at the time, so excuse me, parenting fail. But my boys were wrestling at the top of the stairs, and Adrian came tumbling down the wooden stairs, and his head literally went into the drywall at the end of the stair. And there was like this perfect imprint of a head at the end of the stair, and we never fixed it. We sold that house, and the imprint of his head was literally still in the drywall, because it was just like, just like another repair to add to the list, and it just got so overwhelming. So I felt this homeowner's pain when, he was talking about all the repairs that were needed on this house, and he really just needed to get out, and he had a certain price in mind that he needed to get. And so we went ahead and looked at the house, and there were quite a bit of repairs, but he also did not have enough money for moving, and so he needed the money from the sale of the house in order to move out of the house. And so I thought to myself, okay, well, we can give him the offer that he needs. We can give him the cash at closing that he needs in order to move from this house to a safer, nicer place. And he can stay in the home after we close on it, and we won't charge him for rent. But what we will do is hold some of the proceeds of the sale of the house in the escrow account with the title company, and we'll give him a week to move. And so that way he had funds in his account in order for him to move out of the house. And so a week later he called us. He said he was out, and I went over there and made sure all was good, and we released the funds from the title company back to him, and we were now the proud owners of the manufactured home, and we were ready to get started. So I had my contractor come over, and the biggest problem with this house was that a lot of the subfloor was sinking for some reason, and we really didn't know why yet. But it was so funny because the homeowner, and I can totally relate to this as a parent, but the homeowner had literally drawn on the floor on this one area that was really bad, that was sinking in, and it said, please stop jumping on this part of the floor or it's going to get worse. And I'm like, obviously he was talking to his kids when he wrote that, and I'm like, that's probably something I would do too. And so my contractors went in, and we found out that the house had polybutylene pipes that were leaking. And polybutylene pipes are no good. Most of the time when we have a house with polybutylene, we end up having to repipe the house, and that's exactly what we had to do to this manufactured home, because there were so many leaks that it had gotten, and all the piping runs underneath the house. In manufactured homes, and it had gotten into the subfloor, and the subfloor started sinking in different areas. So we had a plumber come in, and we had to repipe. What's that?
I have a question.
Yes.
What era is the polybutylene pipes?
This is a good question for like Andrew Braun, ARB inspections, but I think polybutylene was from like 1980 to 1995, I don't know, you have to Google it or reach out to one of your inspector friends, but it's kind of like that period of time. So this was a 1987 manufactured home that we were rehabbing, and it had the polybutylene. So we repiped the house, and then we fixed all of the subfloor where it was sinking. And so now we were ready to add, our beautiful flooring. Oh my gosh, the house was infested with fleas. I don't know if it was infested when the homeowner was there, or it got infested when he left. But my contractor was in there, and he was literally getting attacked, and so we had to call the pest control, and the pest control came out I don't know how many times to get rid of these fleas. But my contractor was not happy about working in the house when the infestation was going on. So we addressed that, and we addressed the subfloor, and then what else happened with this renovation? All in all, it went really smooth, actually. I never had to go to the house. We managed the house from here. Oh gosh, it's COVID-19. That's what happened. There was a pandemic in the middle of all this. So after we bought the house, all of a sudden things shut down. I wasn't going to the house, so I was having to manage the house from FaceTime, and my contractor was awesome. He's worked with us for years and years and years now. So he was helping me manage it because I was not literally physically going to the house. And I remember calling the dumpster company, because this is right before they put us in quarantine in Florida. And there was news of, well, the state's going to shut down for a month. And I called the dumpster company because I needed them to deliver the dumpsters to the house. And I called them and I'm like, so, like, if the world comes to an end, do I get a refund on the dumpsters? Like, if for some reason you deliver the dumpsters and we go into quarantine and you can't pick the dumpsters up, like, do I get a refund for that? And he's like, ma'am, I'm sure it's gonna be fine. We're gonna, keep working. And do you want the dumpsters or not? And I was like, okay, well, we'll order the dumpsters. But like, I literally was like wondering, is the world coming to an end? Are we gonna be able to rehab this house? Like, what's going on? And so anyways, we finished up the renovation and we put it up on the market. So this is what's really important with this story, is the difference between cash buyers and retail buyers. So this was a 1987 manufactured home, and when we fixed it up, it was beautiful. And so we immediately put it up on the market, and we put $20,000 into it to fix it up. This was not a light renovation. And the seller, the homeowner that we bought this house from, he would have had to put $20,000 into this property to sell it, and here's why. I should back up. He would have had to put $20,000 into this property if he wanted to sell it to a retail buyer. This house, in its current condition when we bought it, was only suitable for a cash buyer, and here's why. When we went to go sell it, after it was all fixed up, after it was, the pipes were fixed and all that, we actually had a little bit of a difficult time selling it, and here's why. When we went to go sell it, this is a 1987 mobile home, the first person who saw it, they loved it. They thought it was beautiful. They wanted to buy it, but their lender would not lend on an older manufactured home. So we were sending her resources for different lenders that we knew who do lend on older homes, but manufactured homes, they're a little bit tricky sometimes, especially when you get into like 1990 and earlier. You just have a hard time finding lenders that are, going to lend on that home. So we couldn't accept her offer because her lender wouldn't lend on it. Then we went under contract with another retail buyer who was getting a mortgage, and we came together on an agreement. We put it under contract with that buyer, and a few days later, his realtor called and said that the lender was pulling out. I don't know exactly what happened, but obviously we were not going to be moving forward with this buyer, and thank God it was only a few days after we had put it under contract, because we've had deals fall apart last minute, days before closing, and I'm sure some of you on the call right now can relate. It's not fun. So this was just a few days after we had put it under contract. So we again canceled that contract and we put it back up on the market. And a few days later, we got a cash buyer. And so from that point on, they did the inspection. There was no appraisals because they were a cash buyer. There was no lending requirements. There was no repairs that they had us do because the lender was requiring it. They were a cash buyer, so they controlled the transaction. When you have a lender who's giving you money to buy that house, a lot of time the lender is controlling the transaction because there's requirements that lender is going to need in order for you to buy that house. So on the selling side, I knew going into it that this house might be a little bit difficult selling because it was an older manufactured home. But in the end, from start to finish, because of COVID-19, I had to learn how to manage a renovation without ever going to the renovation. And I've only been able to do that because I've been doing this now for 8 years. But for someone who's never renovated before, this would be a very difficult situation where you can't physically go to the house to manage it. And number two, just the difference between cash buyers and retail buyers, especially when you start to get into homes that are, older manufactured homes and things like that. It's just a totally different ballgame. So that's it for today, guys. If you or anyone you know has a house that they need to sell, if it has repairs, if it's underwater, if it's in foreclosure, give us a call. Obviously, we buy all kinds of homes. We buy manufactured homes, we buy single family, we buy multifamily. So this one was a fun one. So I will see you guys tomorrow on the next call. Thanks.